probably everybody. Nancy and, let's see, Mary Margaret are on the call. And, before we kind of get started, John Ryan, since, he hasn't been around for a while, he has had some health problems. And so I talked with him last week. He sounds like he's doing okay. He's in after you go to the hospital, rehab facility, John Ryan. Yeah. But he sounded, when I talked to him, he lives in Tryon where I live, and he said he's even able to stop by, leave and go to his house for stuff. So he's mobile to where he's able to do that. But he's had kind of a rough go of stuff the last couple months. Like this, it's been since
pneumonia.
Yeah.
Bronchitis, RSV.
Yeah.
Pick your pick.
Yeah, and he's had, I guess, he had a health problem and then hurt his arm. And then had multiple health problems, so hopefully he sounded good when I talked to him, because I was a little worried when he said he was in a rehab, but yeah, so it just says.
No pressure from us, yeah, I hope he's doing that.
Yeah, but I guess I hadn't really updated anybody, so. He seems like he's doing well, but okay, that was all update on that.
Well, we'll go ahead and call to order then, this economic vitality meeting. Hello, Nancy and Mary Margaret on the call. We will submit these minutes as for approval to the board unless anybody wants to add any new business. Now would be the time. And if not, could I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve. Oh, Jerry, we got an extra copy over there.
Yeah, tiny screen.
Yeah, if you're anything. Motion.
Yeah, we did, Jerry, or Erica did it, and we'll move forward. So last time we talked about street closures a lot, and we brought a good bit of that to the Downtown Advisory Board. Has anybody have any extra thoughts on what we talked about after it's been marinating for a while?
Are there any options city-wise? I don't know how any emergency text work, but the system used for that to send out notifications for parking for events like that?
We have our text alert system that, we've got a text alert for street closures. I do worry that it's not fully current, because updating the contacts on that is not
You have to sign up for that, right?
yeah. So we send that out when there's major street closures, and that includes about parking. And I've been trying to figure out an alternative way to do the text alerts. Because what's difficult about those are, you have to do it really from a computer, or from, it's not an easy thing that you could just, I could just log into an app and send something out really fast, if it was a big emergency type of situation. So I'm looking at some ways to do that. I still haven't really figured out a system.
The legality of Amber Alerts, and there are ways to send messages to everyone in an area, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can do that without an opt-in, because I know even with the text alert system, we have the rave alerts. They've even added more regulations on that varying between emergency and non-emergency. And so they basically say street closure stuff is not emergency. So there's a whole different levels of that. So I doubt there is, but I can check on that.
Do we have tornado alerts? Because that,
Yeah,
in places like Dallas.
Yeah.
and whatnot, that is a localized, selected blast. And so it might be.
yeah,
It might be 5 zip codes, but it doesn't go to Fort Worth.
Right.
If the storm is headed for Dallas, but it would go out on every single cell phone.
yeah. I know we had some similar ones for the storm and the Amber Alerts, but I know mine just went off a couple days ago.
When that happened, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
But it may.
But I don't know if, I can ask if there's any kind of thing for that. I've got a feeling that they probably, I think it's FCC, Federal Communications Commission. So they probably would say street closure stuff is probably not something we can do, but I can see, because I know like our text alerts, they also, like, if you're signed up for them, you can also sign up for like weather alerts and stuff like that, because I get those from the alert HBL. And are you thinking for businesses, or you think for like overall for everybody who's like in a geographic?
I was just kind of
Yeah,
exposing it. Just,
Yeah.
I didn't know much at all
So are
about
you-
the modern capabilities of that.
oh,
So are you thinking about doing this? Because, pardon me, but I wasn't here last month, so I don't know all of it that you guys talked about. Is this a situation you're talking about for like all residents, or this is for like just downtown businesses in general?
I think we're just talking about any ways we can communicate to people that their car needs to leave or the road.
Oh, okay. All right.
You were here for the downtown advisory.
It was the advisor, the economics, so I didn't know every little thing you guys talked about that. Because I know we used to do, and I don't remember the last time I got one of these, probably been years. But there used to be, maybe be before you, there used to be a thing for the downtown businesses that we would get an automated call from the city at all the businesses about upcoming events. Which I thought was really interesting because it kind of gave us a heads up of like, oh, that's right, we have a street closure this weekend.
Yeah, and we still do it. We don't usually do the call. But we still do the text whenever the street's closed, for it, but I'm worried that we don't have everyone who needs to get it.
That's the other thing is I highly doubt Dave gets a text, that if he
Yeah.
does, he's not telling me.
Yeah,
He never comes to work.
yeah,
So the texting thing I could see being very difficult because unless you have a completely updated,
yeah, and.
who's the person that should be receiving these texts, that's gonna be tough.
And I had sent something out with, like, back after the storm, because whenever there was the possible active shooter thing, I was like,
Mhm.
you're good. And so for the, like, any of the physical handouts and our newsletters for a while, I'd sent a form of like updating yours and your employee contact information. And I got some updates, so that way I could update it in the text system, but I didn't get very many.
If you get a chance, if you send me a new one, I'll
Yeah.
make sure that it's done, because I doubt he got it and or did it.
Yeah. So if we can figure out ways to get a more updated list of everybody and their employees, that's the main one, is not just because obviously that's the situation we always run into.
Right.
Because we've got, like, on the city's website, it's all through the Smart 911. Here, the alert.
What are rave texts?
That's what
This,
yeah. Yeah, so people can sign up here and they can opt into this downtown street closure text alert. And so we send them that way. We send them, in our email newsletter.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I've been kind of testing out is another app called GroupMe, which is a lot of times used like, I guess, on college campuses and stuff.
They're similar to like a WhatsApp kind of.
Yeah, and so that is free because the problem with the text alerts, with their changes for things that are non-emergency, the city does have to pay per text. Like, there's a certain, like, it's something that they'll absorb, but if we can figure out ways to have alternative ways to alert people on that, so that might be some help that this committee can help with, is getting the sign, because I've got a form. I think I've got it. I think it's on here. I'll have to go back and look. I'd sent it out in our newsletter before, but it's been a little while. I can kind of do a bigger effort to push, and I can't remember where it is. To push back on that, but we can, cause that's where the problem is, like, some of the alerts can go out to like all of the water customers in the area, but that's going to landlords or owners and
Yeah.
not to them.
Yeah, if you're renting, you're probably not seeing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, the hard part with the group me, which, because we use that well, we've been trying to use it at the Arts Council,
mhm,
it's essentially a texting social,
yeah,
social site. The only problem with that is you're doing a giant text chain with so many people.
yeah, well, there's a way you can set it up to where only like administrators can send out, so that way a bunch of people don't respond. Providing, yeah,
That would be my biggest concern, is that ends up just becoming a new form of Hendersonville, North
oh,
Carolina.
yeah, no, we don't want that at all. And then you get those texting people, and so I think that might be a way to do it too, if we can get, I think I've got maybe like 30 people who added to that, and I've just sent it out as kind of a trial run of like street closures and stuff. Cause that one, it's a lot easier to send it like fast. Like even, it could even be like, completely separate example. This is going all different topics, but this is important. There was, Barbara from Narnia had stopped me the other day and gave me this sheet of paper. I'll put it here, but it was from years ago. They had like a phone tree kind of thing, like where each block had like, oh, there was a shoplifter here, and then they were
Oh, yeah.
so many people on a block. The group me could be that where like a handful of people, like somebody on each block could be the
Like. almost-
block person. So that way it's not everybody having access to send it out.
I was kind of speaking for Caroline last time, but I was like, she's already policing her spots outside of her place, like she was talking about it during Treat Street. If we could communicate to like the stakeholders, the business owners
Yeah.
there, maybe they could like stake out the 2 parking spots in front of their place the day of, or, and you could initiate, it's like, okay, go put out a cone now or something like that.
Yeah,
Something manageable that just somebody that's gonna be in that space could do, and just if it's empty, you put a cone down, you put caution tape or something like that. Maybe farm it out to people and take it off of Public Works as clearing the street, the half hour before the cops go and start towing. It would require everybody voluntarily to jump in and say, yeah, I wanna do this.
Right.
It sounds like the business owners and people down there might not,
yeah.
it's not that much, it's not like hard work, to do.
Yeah, but the text note or the phone notification could be helpful in a lot of different scenarios too, like the active shooter. That was not a real active shooter, but you never know.
Yeah, but it definitely caused a stir for.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll kind of keep looking at that and add, because I think that getting that better updated or figuring out a way to alert people.
If we did try doing a group me thing, is it possible? Because I'm only just learning about this site, so I don't really know all of it. But do you know if there's a way that if we were to set up a downtown Hendersonville, whatever it might be for that, like there could just be a QR code to be able to sign up for it? So this way you could put it in things like a water bill or something like that, or have it posted somewhere. So it's like, if you want it, because I feel like that's the biggest problem with getting people on board with doing something like that. It was the same thing with the Park Mobile app. We had so many people just like, I don't know how to do this. I can't figure this out. So I feel like it's the easiest, if you have something that is literally a point and click, and at this point, it's like, look, you're taking it out of your hands. There's no reason not to do it now, because all you have to do is do that and you're done.
Yeah,
So if we had that could be sent out with whatever paperwork it is, I think that would make it a lot easier and maybe heighten the chance of getting more people involved in it.
yeah, and I kind of did that.
Oh, okay.
It had a QR code where people could submit their stuff, or they could write it on a piece of paper and turn it in to me.
Okay.
There is something in the Park Mobile app where if they park that day, you could have something, there's another thing where you could like put a notification, like, hey, street closes at this time today.
Yeah, the app, Park Mobile app, you can
Yeah.
do that, and we do that, yeah.
For strangers or people that don't opt into the thing, like if somebody's randomly.
It shows up anytime anybody's using the app for the street closure, yeah. I guess I'm seeing it a little separately on because I almost think that the text alerts, if we can't do like a geographic alert situation, but the text alert for employees of businesses almost more than anything.
At the very least, that helps, because if you were to get that alert like day of, like, maybe it'd have it set where some sort of a timer of like, I don't know, 2-3 hours before it's gonna happen, whatever we want to pick for the number. it gives the employees and or management of the establishment time to like, all right, that's happening. Maybe I should let my customers know,
Yeah.
give them a heads up. So I mean, that could definitely help with alleviating the amount of people sitting on the streets
Yeah,
when they're trying to shut it down.
okay.
I've just done two comments, because I wasn't there either during. Um, two comments on the towing. One, I wouldn't be paying a guarantee. Right, because it's daytime, number one, so their business is maybe highway, right? Or a dead battery, but for the most part, that's, if they come downtown, there's guaranteed business there. That they're gonna be pulling somebody out of there. Now, whether, I don't know how many companies we pull on.
Mhm.
I don't think they should be sitting down at Williams, waiting on somebody to come get their car. So, you know, if it's, I don't know what that time is from the first towing to, you know, we're done.
Mhm.
It's been gracious and the decision was like, we should just take that away. That was the most time that we could immediately save.
If you're done, sit and have another drink or another, you know,
Yeah.
hors d'oeuvre.
The risky.
But, then maybe the city goes by with a golf cart or whatever we have, right? And drives down the street. They, you know, we'll give you a ride,
Mhm.
but I don't think the drivers. That would send me if I was that business owner, that would send me the other way if I had to sit down there and wait for somebody to come pay their bill.
Oh, the tow driver. Mhm.
So I think there probably is an easier or better solution than doing that, but.
Yeah, that's all stuff that we'll have to, on the towing stuff, there's only gonna be so much that we can control on that.
And the police were considerate to the business owners, you know, they want to make it worth their while, but if that was my business, I would feel like that's the risk that I take when I sign up for the city contract, like maybe it'll be there, maybe it won't be, but that's on me to decide. If they show up, I don't think the police should feel any sort of way about guaranteeing the business is there or not. It should be there, and if it's not.
I don't think they necessarily feel that. I think that they had given that as an example of some of the reasons why
It happened once.
they need the amount of time that they are saying that they need to close it, because if they can't guarantee that the tow is going to be able to, that will actually be there, then it might take 3 hours instead of 2 hours to get the street clear. That was the impression that I had gotten. On that.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So on the event topic, so we're also talking internally, because in addition to the weight on, police, on Public Works, it's a heavy load, and they're at their breaking point as far as number of events that we do and closures.
The police officer, he answered all of our questions and we dug into it, and they really are pretty efficient on paving and actually like moving the barricades and physically, like their public works job, like there's not much fat to trim there. But the police's job, they've been a little gracious. There's like a half-hour window where they were writing tickets and we're like, why? Just start towing.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. So.
Yeah. So at the meeting in the council workshop on March 26th, it's at 4 o'clock when they have their workshop meetings. It'll be at City Hall. That whole meeting is gonna be focused on overall event policy. So we'll be able to bring up the things that we've talked about, but the bigger part of it is gonna be like our public works figuring out what limitations of what events we do or don't allow as far as new events. Because really right now, the downtown board is really the only group that really kind of says no on any new ones coming in. And then we're still allowing more in, so there's gonna be that push and pull, and probably some more conversation on the event fees. Which we just updated our fees a couple of years ago, but having some type of variation on event fees between like partner events could be some that are designated like like ones that have either reduced fees or lower ones that are like nonprofits and events that are really important for downtown. And then other folks who come in looking to do an event, especially if it's like for a private business that closes the street, they might higher rate or something like that. So we're looking at all of that because even with the new types of barricades, that's not really lightening the load as far as like public works and everything. So all of that's going to be discussed at that March 26th meeting. So we can kind of present to council, like, this is the true cost that the city pays for like overtime and staff time and everything to close it. So that way they can kind of get a clear picture of where things are with it. This tends to kind of have to happen every few years, and we've had several that have come in new and several and new rules as far as the street closures go, like we talked about here before. A lot more enforcement of making it safe, which is important. So we'll be presenting all of that on March 26th. That's really everything with events right now. And we haven't had any new ones to approach us. We actually did have someone who's approached us about wanting to do a protest that we sent it to police, and then it sounded like they were wanting to do more of an event that closes the street for 500 people to march down the street. We said, no, sorry. Hopefully, like you're definitely within your rights to do a protest, but to close the street for 500 people is probably not something that we're
Price tag, there's a,
in doing.
to close down the street, how much it costs.
Yeah. It would be a lot for something like that. So anything else on events?
I think we have something actionable to take to downtown advisory board and city council and some ideas.
Yeah, so that would be a good, like, the March 26th event or meeting won't be a public comment one, but that's a good one to either listen in on or go.
Hurricane recovery things.
So we're closing out the Love Hendo grants. We've got a little bit of money still left, so there's a few applications that we're going to review and close it all out. I think total it was 89 businesses that we provided grants to. And then the Western North Carolina Small Business Initiative has a new round that just opened up, and that was given some money from the state government. And that was the one that was through Appalachian Community Capital. And so I sent an email update in a newsletter to businesses that we have yesterday for it, because I think it's due
21st.
Yeah, and those are up to $50,000. And they're also eligible for economic or physical losses, so.
That's a big deal. So yeah, if you know anybody that was impacted by it, that one's an easy one to apply for.
Yeah.
Last night.
And that got state funding for it.
There. Mhm.
Yeah, also this Friday morning, WSPA Channel 7 contacted me about just looking for a story to do. And so we're gonna do one early Friday morning, like 5 o'clock. And it's at Mike's on Main. And so we'll have some downtown businesses and then some businesses from outside of downtown that we're trying to make it a story about that we're open, come see us. And then talk to some businesses like Steps Orchard's going to be a part of it too. So that had like kind of showing that tourism side of things.
Bob from the chamber left me a message.
Oh, did he?
I'm not gonna be able to.
Okay. Yeah, we've got one more spot to fill, because I had a TDA speak for, one of them, and then a couple of businesses, some that were physically damaged, and then some that weren't. Yeah, so we, they're like 4:45 on Friday.
We did our once a year inventory yesterday I was up at 3:30.
Planned it at like on Main, so that way it'll be like breakfast.
Yeah, that's.
But that was Friday morning on Channel 7. And so that's really it as far as the disaster recovery but then kind of on a separate but similar topic, kind of shifting over to the artist studio stuff. It sounds like there's going to be some potential for some pretty big federal grant, say federal.
Potential. Maybe.
We'll see what happens. But in the disaster recovery for, I think it was for declared disasters for like the last 3 years, but up to 2024, so not including fires. That would be able to apply for it's Economic Development Administration and Community Development Block Grants, which could be for like big types of projects, like a artist studio type of space kind of thing. I don't have a lot of information on that yet, but that can be something that when I get the details on it, we'll look at. And on that topic, I hadn't had a chance to talk to you much on that, if you had any kind of information or updates or anything. Okay. Is it kind of dead in the water or?
It's done.
Okay, well, I think there's still some legs with some, because I know like several of the arts organizations are still looking for,
Something like that might get them off the fence.
yeah. Yeah,
As complimentary funding or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah. Okay, so we're, and I've talked with it to like the assistant city manager had been at a session about these federal grants that are gonna be coming out and said specifically for something like that, sounded like it'd be just the right thing, so. Again, this is dependent on our federal funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all promising, hopefully, depending on what happens with our federal grants. So that's really all of that, but there are several opportunities, it sounds like, that can come about from that. That's all I have as far as hurricane stuff.
And so with those two things that we've been talking about, we're kind of looking forward now and thinking about what we want to focus on next with this subcommittee. We are now doing the facade and preservation grants, which there are none at this time, but if one ever comes up, it'll probably supersede whatever we're doing, but we'll know about it and that'll take precedence. But for other things, the building inventory has been a little bit on the back burner, and the vacant building policy were two goals that we said last year that we wanted to kind of look to do with this subcommittee. And so those would be two good directions to go for this year, the rest of the year.
And I talked a little bit with Matt Manley, who's kind of like oversees the implementation of like the comprehensive plan, everything, and that was a part of it. And so I told him, so we've got our committee that's ready to like do that. We just need a little direction on where to start with it.
It's already been doing it a little.
Yeah, Nancy's done a good job collecting information for us. And so we're just still trying to figure out from them where the best place for us to kind of get tied in on that. And then I had something else. With the facade and preservation grants, I did present a little bit to the historic preservation last week, asking them if they could give us money from facade grants. There are some legal rules for it, but they were really supportive of it and were interested in either doing their own event as a little fundraiser to add to our facade grant program, or even having some of the events that they do that raise some funds in general to go towards that program.
Remind me of the amount for the.
It's $6,000 matching, and we've got, for this budget year currently, we've got about $12,000 that we can put towards it, so so we could do basically, yeah, and that's what I told them, and they know that like, we're probably gonna have, I've got like 4 or 5 that haven't come yet, but probably are, and they're big ones that we're gonna wanna support. Like yours and the Jane Asher building. And so they were supportive of that, and so I think, and once we get into the event season, depending on how Rhythm and Brews goes, we might be able to dedicate some more money to it. It's just, it's a little tighter because of the TDA funds not happening this year, because they've really helped cover a lot of our costs on events the last couple of years. So we have funds, but I just don't wanna spend them too much, because then eventually we won't have the funds if we have another bad event year.
So when that comes up, it'll fall to this board. Building inventory is just gonna kind of be an ongoing and long-term sort of a thing, and it's sort of in data collection mode.
Yeah, we need to get back in on that. I need to, for the next meeting, I'll have some more updates with the information that Nancy's gotten to me, and hopefully not too much of that's changed since then. I think that was like right before,
Like December.
I think that was like a week before the storm. It was like, yes. And so then I kind of just was like, oh, I'll look at this later.
Realistically,
Yeah.
it won't, I mean, that wheel is turning.
Yeah,
And the holes will get plugged pretty quickly.
yeah,
There's only finite number
Yeah.
of buildings. That we
Yeah.
can work
And once we have it, we'll figure out what to do with the data.
Yeah,
yeah, and that will help inform on from the vacant building policy stuff.
well, and so that's Manly. It is,
He's doing the implementation of the comprehensive plan. And he will be the most using the building inventory, but we haven't really done much with the vacant building policy, you know.
Yeah, well, he'll be able to help, tell us what we need to do as far as with the vacant building, and then also code enforcement.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
and-
easy if the place is dilapidated, but what we talked about today with like what Brevard is doing, that sounds very
Yeah.
proactive.
And what I wanted to say was that I think we need to put the bucket, if he doesn't already have this on his
Mhm.
Agenda. But he needs to already be having these discussions with legal.
Yeah, and
And, you know, because if we take a direction and they've already said over here and said, you know, can't do that,
yeah.
right? So we need to be,
Yeah, we need to make sure we know what we're talking
Yeah.
about. These ideas, yeah.
Because sure enough, we'll start talking towards something and.
Yeah.
Because we've all got ideas, but I'm sure 50% of them like legally, we can't do that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to private property.
let's make as few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that code enforcement, before the storm had already been looking at, for, I think it was for, residential, like dilapidated homes, and trying to build an inventory that way. So and I know they've had to do a lot of that following up with the storm, but I haven't been able to check back with them to see, but
We know legally, there's a lot of precedence for that sort of thing, and there's not much of that in Hendersonville, but we all agree that that's a priority for these
Yeah.
buildings that are just not moving and doesn't seem to show any interest.
yeah, I just talked with him recently on getting together to figure out kind of what we need to do next for it, because I told him, I said, we're all ready to, our group is ready to work on it. We just need help knowing where to start with it, because there's definitely gonna be some legal things that we won't be able to do.
Is there a brief way to describe what Brevard was?
Phil brought it up today, and it's a city ordinance that they pass. It's something actionable.
But if one,
Brevard?
Yeah, Brevard.
Oh, Brevard, yeah.
It's a city ordinance,
yeah,
so.
Vacant building, is that what it is?
yeah, I don't know the specifics, details, but I've been told by a couple of my artists and somebody else that yeah, they're dropping the hammer.
Mhm. I'll ask, the downtown director in Brevard.
In some way, they've written it, if you own a building and it sits vacant for, X amount of months or however long they determine, and there's no active tenant, that the city then goes and finds a tenant. And I don't know what kind of contract they draft up or what it looks like or whatever, but it's
I think it probably find out it's tied to lost revenue. Right,
for the city.
not just taxes, but, you know,
Yeah,
So the city finds a tenant, but what if it's not?
A good fit
Habitable.
or something.
Property,
Yeah,
all right, it's, the tenant is non-existent. What they're trying to prevent is, number one, having a vacant building. Number two, I think there's some, mechanism out there to, direct the type of business that they're getting in. So, for instance, we've had Apotheca and copious other smoke shops try to get into Seven. And only because Lyle said no, Linda said no,
Yeah,
right? But the city hasn't made any changes in the zoning to eliminate it. So right now, we're relying on the property owner, you know, to protect us in that sense, but that zoning needs to be rectified too.
so when we've identified the need and that we all want the vacant buildings to go away. So some other cities that get punitive and like big cities like a Baltimore that has like hundreds of years old, like dangerous buildings, it's really easy. There's easier legally, I think, for them. The city can actually like go and like acquire property. We think that would be really hard.
I would love to be able to do that.
That would be pretty hard. So, and it's, we're pretty limited to just the Main Street district that we have like any kind of influence over at all. And a lot of it's tied to that like extra tax revenue that comes up. So, there's not much punitive that we really could do, nothing like that aggressive, but maybe there could be like a fine or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think like a fine or
Yeah.
something within like, local tax issues or breaks or something.
Mhm.
I mean, it's got to be put into place. There has been some sort of incentive, to have these people put something in these buildings. Some of them have been empty way too long.
And for years trying to play ball in many different other ways that we're trying, it's just,
Yeah.
it's not happening, so.
Well,
But it is important to your point of making sure it's the right tenant too, just don't,
Yeah.
you don't want it to be that much of an enforcement to where somebody will just put debate top in your.
I don't want somebody telling me what tenant I have to put in my building, but I don't want anybody telling me, because I'm gonna be the one that has to deal with them.
Yeah.
Basically, what they doing in my building.
Cause then we just fill up the space and it's not what we want it to be. So there, and all kinds of laws on what we can or can't tell on private property too.
If it's a teddy bear store, it's on you. If it's an Apotheca, it's on the city. All right,
Mhm.
and you. So,
Whatever mess they leave.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, people have to use some common sense.
But at least from what I hear, there's no shortage of like hungry business people that want a spot to do business and work.
Yeah.
So if these buildings are sitting vacant, I don't think it's for lack of tenants or desire.
No, they're asking way too much money.
Yes, yeah,
Or they're holding on to it as an
It's
asset.
one, the rate that they're asking, and it's also two, because none of those buildings are suitable to.
Move in right now,
into.
yeah,
And it's $100,000
up for anything.
to start.
Yeah.
And the process of
Yes.
start, I mean, that's what we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got structural engineers, I've got architects, I've got them going back and forth with historic preservation. I mean,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
taking forever.
Yeah.
I mean, the process just takes forever.
yeah. And then if they've got to have, cause I know, one thing, and we'd asked in a conversation with Lyle before of like, cause we'd asked about why would you not want to have residential on the second floor? And it was a lot of like building requirements as far as firewalls and all this kind of stuff that makes it not conducive, even though like we want to have people living in the places, but if there's any ways we can make it easier for the properties to have that mixed use.
Mhm.
I don't know necessarily what those are that are state laws that like state fire code laws or stuff that the city can do. Cause I know, I'm sure you are experiencing that a lot.
I think it's worth to look at incentives like always, but like I said, we've been doing that
Yeah,
And if you look at like the good landlords that are active and working and what's gonna happen on Seventh Avenue with Lyle's buildings, it's like, you get the right person in there, it could, it could really make a huge impact on the whole city.
yeah. And I would say not even, like, are there any processes that we can figure out to make it easier to get the things that we want to get while also still making it harder for the things we don't want to get? And I don't know what that necessarily is, but that's.
I know that there aren't many barriers to like chain stores and stuff like,
Yeah,
there's no drive-throughs downtown. That's like zoning ordinance, but beyond that, like if a Starbucks wanted to come downtown, is there
Yeah.
anything that could stop them?
no, it can't regulate the business. Like, except for business type.
Mhm.
Um,
Or you could limit what they could do to the building, like.
Yeah.
Signs or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, but not like,
In a lot of cities with developing
mhm,
marketplaces like us, right? There's actually a business community,
mhm,
that communicates. And they discuss directions, so like Greenville, like Greer, they discuss where they want to go
mhm,
to maximize, or at least in their crystal ball, to maximize the return, not only for the businesses, but for the property owners,
mhm.
right? Here, that doesn't exist. The property owners are
Mhm.
scattered to the wind all the way to Miami. And yes, we've got one guy has got 23, 25 properties. But he could give a rat's ass
Mhm.
what the rest of.
They put two taco shops right next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are two different building owners.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's saying. There's like, yeah, creates this
That's
situation.
like, they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll
Right now.
get Matt to come maybe to the next meeting.
Right now, if there's a business that like wants a spot, they kind of reach out to like you.
Either that or, they talk to landlords directly and then,
If someone's like, hey, I want to come to Hendersonville, what do?
yeah, I'll meet with people and then I'll send them to what
Prospect.
landlords have places that are available. But on the other side, there's like both of those taco places, they just came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them didn't even get building permits.
Hmm.
Oh, my goodness. And that all is much better solved if they come directly to the city first.
Mhm. There's at least a
Because then it costs them a lot of money
to redo
if
things.
they, yeah, and it's going to, if they don't. But there's only so much we can do and like, well, code enforcement and they'll stop and find people and call them as quickly as they can, as soon as they know something's happened, but you can only get people to fill out the information.
There's a little bit of an attitude if you're hustling like that of like, just get it done and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, and then it ends up costing you a lot of money
Right.
later.
So there's potential there that there's an interest for the city for sure, but there's also an interest for the landlords and the
Yeah.
business owners if we had some kind of input on
Yeah.
who's coming in or
Yeah,
what.
we talked to like the ones who, Aceville Properties who own a lot of properties about at least making sure that any prospective tenants get like our checklist of information and make sure that they know like to talk to us.
And we're not this barrier that says you can't do that. Here's the roadmap to do exactly what you want to do it
Yeah, because,
instead of going off the rails.
yeah, because it'll cost you a lot later on signage. At minimum, if you put a sign up without a permit and it's the wrong size, then you gotta buy a new sign, but you could have to like redo all the work you just spent a lot of money doing. Which no one wants to do that. Yeah, so I'll talk with him about coming. Or see if Matt can maybe come to the next meeting so we can kind of nail down on the comprehensive downtown master plan stuff, which was like the vacant buildings and everything. And then I had a separate note that I didn't put in the agenda, that not for the March meeting, but the April meeting. We were, listed as partners for a Appalachian Regional Commission grant. That was somebody from my leadership class that applied for, and they're doing, a business incubator feasibility study. And so they're going to all these different towns and having like a couple of days of like focus groups and meetings with people like this group and like chamber and elected officials and schools, and different small business resource groups to then put together a feasibility study of like next steps for business incubators, like what we could do with this space. And all we had to do was write a letter saying, yeah, we'll be a partner with this. So that worked out really well. So they're coming on that first week of April, which would be when this committee meeting is. And so that worked out well. So this meeting in April will be that focus group with them. And then the goal of that would be that they've received this federal grant to create the feasibility study, and typically there's a planning grant, and then you can apply for implementation, which might allow us to, if the study says you need another full-time staff to support a program like this, or a shared staff between us and community college or something like that, whatever. If it comes in from the study, we might be able to apply for money for that, which would be really cool. So that will be the April meeting for here. And then the March meeting, I'll see if I can get Matt to come. So I kind of filled out those next couple of agendas.
Okay.
I'll have.
That sounds good. Okay, so next time we'll talk about the comprehensive downtown master plan and see. We're gonna focus on vacant building policy. I think that's the perfect purview for this subcommittee, but we'll think about what we want to do for those goals.
Yeah.
The Acosta Trail above the mud thing got postponed because of the hurricane. So that won't be as active this year as we were planning.
I think it'll open in June, I think is what the update was. And on that note, I know the TDA and the Visitor Center is working on trying to get the exterior upgrades to that space that they had in their initial plan for everything, getting that together. So because our end and our trailhead will be coming on board way earlier than the Brevard end. And so they're trying to make it like, we're the trailhead for the Acosta Trail at the Visitor Center. So they're working on putting that together.
The plan construction.
I think they were looking at just getting the design work ready for it, because they've upgraded all of the visitor center, but then the exterior plans for it was what they were saying. And we already have Matt Manley actually had received a grant for the bike racks, which we had already looked at, the leaf ones. So those should be coming off, getting installed. That grant got extended because of hurricane. Those should be coming on pretty soon. I also I've been attending the TDA meetings, and they're projecting for this fiscal year, based off of what their income is now and kind of seeing what other kind of hurricane impact or natural disaster areas, they're maybe a 20 to 30% loss in their hotel tax revenue coming in. They think it might be more like 20%, but kind of on the business side of things, that might be an expectation as far as tourism coming in. It's all kind of up in the air on that. They are making sure they're focusing their budget on that marketing for people to come, and that we're open and it's not like a disaster area here, sort of thing. But I've been trying to keep up with what they're doing over there, just to kind of keep up with it.
Marker.
Do it.
That's a good pulse marker for
Yeah.
tourism.
How, and y'all throughout, how was December comparatively as far as traffic coming in?
I thought it was good, if I remember correctly in my numbers. I was either right at where I was supposed to be for that time of year, if not over. I think we had very little low days. And I think the low days that we did have, there was probably reasons behind it that I saw, like whether it was like just really bad weather kind of a day where nobody was walking around.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part overall, yeah, we were right on track for everything we were supposed to be doing for that time of year.
How's it looking this month or last January?
January, I wasn't there the first week, but the numbers that I saw looked like they were higher than the January before.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Last week, we had numbers that I'm still trying to figure out why we did such high numbers. Like there was like Friday, I literally thought it was July. It was ridiculous how many families, these weren't even like local. This was tourism.
Oh,
For this time of year, I was like, this is very unusual for right now.
mhm.
But it was very high tourism on Friday, what I saw
This past Friday?
this past Friday.
That wasn't even a holiday.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was a holiday or something happening this weekend, but I didn't know of any events in the area. There was
Okay.
holidays that would have brought it in, but this was clearly out of towners.
Hmm.
And it was all families. So it was a very interesting weekend.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Okay,
but outside of that, numbers have been really good. You know, even during that big cold snap, it
Was-
really wasn't terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were down, like, our December last year wasn't great because of the construction, so we were. It tracked pretty closely to what we were expecting for that, but it was better than last year, and our January was better than last year.
how's it looking like in Mass?
January was pretty close.
Okay.
I think we might have seen a little bit more hit from the bitter cold.
Mhm.
But December was up
Good.
and from a purely like gifty retail perspective, there was a week less between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So we think maybe it was some condensed more focused shopping because people didn't have as much time to get that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
yes, but December was good.
Okay, well, that's good. Good, like, it's not like doom and gloom, which is.
Yeah, we're dead. I mean, I know I'm definitely not seeing numbers that I'm like, wow, maybe we should close up for a couple of weeks or something. There's a couple of years there where that's what we did, just because that's what numbers.
Yeah.
Over the years, they've gotten better as far as off season, and this year, like even Dave and I both look at each other and say like, this is fantastic, like we're hitting above what we
Yeah.
kind of were projecting, so that's
Okay.
great.
It was like pouring rain the other night and we were dead. It was the very end of the day. I was locking up and every single parking spot on our block, on 1600 block. No, sorry, I was thinking of previous mass store I worked in. But every parking spot on our block was full.
Uh-huh.
Our store was empty at 6 o'clock, but everyone, like, it was full. Pouring down rain. They were in restaurants, some.
Yeah,
We're playing pinball, but.
okay, well, I mean, that's good to know, because that tells us that it's not like,
I'm feeling good indicated for the summer, for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Y'all-
We're already seeing, I think it's like a really great indication of once season starts to hit, it's gonna be pretty good.
yeah,
When locals hunker down,
yeah,
as long as people still go on vacation, the summer's gonna be.
We had, I said this morning, we had a great reopening.
mhm,
And we had two parties Friday and Saturday, and we had probably 250 people.
wow, that's great.
Between the two parties. And they bought, we did very well that opening week. We've had a lot of traffic. Because a lot of people found out that we were back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they came in droves, but nobody's buying yet. This is not the time that,
Yeah,
you're gonna buy a bunch of art, but.
when is typical time on that?
It'll start in April.
Really? Okay.
That's when ours picks up, right? At spring break.
Mhm.
People start going out and spending money.
Yours track the tourism.
Well, that's when the out of towners
Uh,
start to,
mhm. Yeah.
in larger masses, or come in for extended weekends,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So, yeah, because Seventh, I think I've mentioned this too, the Seventh does about 85% out of town.
Mhm.
Right, the rest is kind of low. Flat Rock, 90% Flat Rockian. They don't leave the bubble.
Yeah.
Very loyal, but and the rest, the other 10% is, Greenville,
Yeah,
Charleston, whatever. So it's two different planets, 4 miles apart. It's amazing.
that's good to hear. I just kind of have a feeling that it's not gonna be as down as they were, like, TDA is kind of anticipating for here. Maybe there might be some other places, not so much, and I'm sure we'll be impacted by like actual if they have a decline there
Yeah.
in Chimney Rock and all of that, but
40 restaurants closed their doors.
in Asheville, really,
Yep.
I
And,
mean, that might be.
but they're still busy.
Yeah,
I mean, the ones that are,
Yeah.
have stayed are doing well. We gained 12 River Arts artists.
that you hadn't had any relationship with before.
No, we didn't know. No, well, we knew one of them, so. But they are thrilled to death, to
Great.
be down here because everything's gone up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They lost all their places.
yeah.
Okay, well, we're closing in on 5. So, familiarize yourself with facade grant, proposal things, because this year there should be some coming our way.
Yeah, I think at some point we'll have from your building and from the Jane Asher building, and then a couple of them on Seventh.
If any of that, this used to be part of community character and they've requested, if anything clearly is like community character domain, they wanna see it, they wanna talk about it too.
Yeah.
They wanna be included.
Which is understandable, but I mean, if we're talking money, like, we definitely should talk about it, but.
Yeah, it is for buildings. They got plenty to work on.
And then next time we'll talk about the comprehensive master downtown plan and see where we're at with our goals on that and look towards a vacant building policy.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get somebody here to help.
What's the date for that March meeting?
It'll be March 4th. You can be gone.
I'm flying out the morning of the 5th, so
It's debatable.
we shall see how packed I am.
March board meeting, but if anyone is interested in going to the conference, it's in Mooresville. Just let me know, because it's not too far. It's only a couple hours. Conference is it's March 11th through 13th. Me and Terry and Dakota might go down on the 10th because some of the stuff starts kind of early on the 11th. It just kind of depends on, it's just on like north of Charlotte, so it's not too far.
Right. I think I got it. I'm down in the middle of doing winter vacations right now. That might be a week I have somebody out.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to go.
But if anybody else has never gone, it's actually a lot of fun. There's a lot of really cool, like, little seminars and stuff like that happen.
Yeah,
That's a really interesting thing to do.
yep. Keep that in mind if you want to go. I'll send a reminder out about that, or I'll bring it up at the board meeting too.
And if there's no other additional business, we will move to adjourn.
Sure.
Thank you.